Welcome to the Mental Fitness Podcast. Today's entrepreneurs are mental athletes that have to know about the mind and how to keep it fit. Our goal is to increase our resilience against stress and anxiety, optimize our productivity, motivation, and optimism by learning about the human mind through psychology, neuroscience, and human behavior. I'm your host Ozan. I'm a founder who has experienced the challenges of launching and growing a business and a keen student of human behavior over the last 15 years. I'll share with you what I know and learn. Hundreds of impactful, behavior-changing ideas are waiting to be discovered by us. Let's begin now. So Daryl, it's a busy day for you and for me, and I'm guessing for most of the people who are listening to us. We are nearing towards the end of the year. Business pace has picked up, although it's quite difficult with a lot of the COVID situation as well. But I'll just jump straight in it. So my question to you is, what are, in your experience, entrepreneurs most afraid of?
Yeah, it's a tough one, that Ozzy.
It is.
I think personally, I think it's failure. They've often had to give up a lot and to throw in a lot of effort to create that business, to start up with that idea. And I remember actually back to when I first started, I left my corporate career in end of 2011, left job security and a really, really great career and a great pension and all of that good stuff. And most of my friends and family at the time were not from the entrepreneur space. They were all used to being employees and working for someone else. So it's a very different environment and a different pressure. And so many of them thought I was a little bit crazy for giving up all of that security to go and pursue this crazy startup idea. And I guess over the first few years, it was, well, it's still hard now, especially with coronavirus. But over those first few years, I do remember, like, on some particularly tough moments or tough periods, I was like, I've got to keep going. I've got to prove to my family and my friends that my idea worked and that it is going to be a success. And it wasn't a bad mistake to leave the corporate world. And I definitely have seen a similar ethos in a lot of entrepreneurs since as well, that, clients that I've mentored and coached. And I guess they don't want to let their families down as well, is the other side, because, we're providing. But on the positive side of that fear of failure and that the stress that comes with the entrepreneur side is the chance to be your own boss and to build something that you're responsible for, and you've built it from scratch. It's your baby as such. And it's not to be underestimated, the challenges of building a business, but the guts and the bravery and the skill it takes to take that idea and turn it into a successful revenue sustaining business model. It's I think successful entrepreneurs are, I would say, sort of unsung heroes, really, and they probably don't get as much credit as they should do. What do you think to that, Ozzy?
I mean, very interesting stuff. It has made me think about two different ideas, and I'd like to expand on those. And one of them is creativity is vulnerability, in a way, and the second one is status anxiety and the fear of humiliation. So I think, while I was listening to you, and those are the light bulbs that lit up in relation to what you've just said. So I'll start with the second one, the latter one, and that is the fear of humiliation and status anxiety. And I think Alon Botton has a book on this, like status anxiety is one of the most well-known books. But that's when I first gotten to know of this terminology. But I think it goes beyond that. And as an entrepreneur, imagine it's really difficult, because once you leave the career progression track and like that linear growth, and then you jump into this almost different graph. Like you're like a little dot that
Yeah.
jumps from one graph to another, and now your success is not measured linearly but geometrically, and like that's quite a difficult spot to be in, because uh, you're either not on the map at all or you're astronomically successful, and those two realities remain simultaneously in the everyday moments of your living. And you can actually, as the entrepreneur, see both of those realities at the same time. You can see the reality that you just hit a wall, and you would not be able to explain to anyone outside of your industry what on earth have you been wasting your last 3 or 4 years on, and you are like this absolute failure. You almost feel humiliated, and like that's the problem. But at the other end, like at that very same moment, you see the other alternative, and like on the geometric graph, they're very, very, very close to each other. You find an idea that can scale. You find a good way to bring that to the market and build the right type of partnerships and so on. So you can, at the same time, with a very, very similar effort, be this person who is seen by the others as this incredible success story that they will tell other friends about. "Oh, like, I have this entrepreneur friend. You would not believe what this guy has accomplished," type of a thing. So you can be the conversational currency of other people's conversation as a success story. And those both realities live simultaneously in the mind of the entrepreneur. And that's, I think, one of the most difficult things. The other one, creativity versus vulnerability. And I think that comes down to a very, I would almost say, existential way of looking at life. Because every type of creativity is, in a way, an existential endeavor where you use your libido to a certain extent, but that life energy you have, it's not unlimited and it's very precious. And so you decide to you actually, I mean, no exaggeration here, you decide that something is worth a certain chunk of your life.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
this is worth 1.1% of my life. Like that's if you worked on something for, let's say, 1.5 years, this is worth 1% of my life. Like it's really valuable. And then if that thing fails because you've put all that creative energy into that, and if it doesn't work, then it's just heartbreaking to a lot of people. And I think that's why, and I think this is particularly true for people who would like to do something in music, something in arts, something in literature. But I think it's also very true for entrepreneurial endeavors as well, because it's, again, a very creative thing. It's just a different type of puzzle, but it holds a lot of similar dynamics to art, I think. So I think it's a very vulnerable thing in that sense. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Does any of
agree.
those
Yes.
resonate?
Yeah, absolutely, Ozzy. And it's really nice actually how to apply kind of human behavior and psychology into this whole kind of conversation, really. I think psychology is a topic that is underutilized, I think, in just in the world in general, and and it can be a real asset in organizations, small ones or large ones, to better understand psychology and to educate the workforce on psychology and blend that into the cultural DNA.
We don't have
The
any
growth
business
strategies.
psychologists, do we? Have you heard of that title ever?
I'm just trying to think of one now. No, I haven't. But this could be your thing, Ozzy. This could be you.
I have enough things, mate. So, but yeah, why not? Perhaps in the future. I think it would be a really interesting thing if I can think of companies who would love the services of a business psychologist, like
Yeah.
consulting to organizations on their health and culture.
Yeah.
That could be something interesting, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, if we take this initial question of or concern of that entrepreneurs, many entrepreneurs might have around fear of failure, let's talk about why it's okay to, one, be afraid of failure, and two, it's actually okay to fail, because sometimes we have to go through some stuff. We have to give stuff our best go to to kind of see if it works, see if we're right, to try something out. So then there's a phrase I love, which is fail fast. So
and fail cheap.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a phrase that should be more mainstream, and to articulate that for our viewers. This is about whenever you have a new idea or a new project or a concept or a new product or a new approach for a marketing campaign or a sales campaign, whatever, any of those things, don't be afraid to take your time to develop the strategy, but also at the same time, don't try to perfect the strategy. When it feels about 70% right, then let's test it. But let's test it on a small scale, and limit the time, the cost, the resource we put into that to see if it does actually work or not on a very small sample. Maybe test it alongside a second approach. So you're doing some split testing. And I find that many entrepreneurs know about split testing and research, but very few people apply it on a regular basis. And that's a fantastic opportunity to encourage and experience, not be afraid of failure, but to keep it on a very cheap, very kind of fast scale, so then you can adjust it from those learnings and move on. And then the second point I'd make as well is they say it's great to make mistakes because you learn from them. And I agree, it's a good point, but it's even better, I say, to learn from other people's mistakes. And that's why it becomes important to subscribe to, other thought leaders and, great vlogs and video, audio podcasts, to read great books. You can learn about the other successes and failures of entrepreneurs before you, people who've already been there and done it, even, and successfully exited their business. And let's learn from them. And then crucially, whatever we're learning from those sources is making sure we then make time to act on those lessons, making time in our busy schedules to create a risk prevention strategy for that thing that we've learned. And that, again, it's easy for us to talk, to read a book, to watch a video, but it's very hard for us to avoid distraction and to apply self-discipline to then take action from that talk, turning our words into actions. So that's a really important point I'd like to stress to everyone, really, even the most successful entrepreneurs.
I mean, those are some wonderful points, and I think we're really lucky because we can actually find time to prioritize this in our very busy schedules. I know you have a meeting coming up in 4 minutes, me as well. So for people listening, us, I think it's quite difficult, but this is something we both value. So we wouldn't want to skip today without making a recording. And just a few things to close this session. I sometimes feel like, I don't know, as a child, I used to play with these Pokemon cards. I don't know if maybe I'm younger than you, I don't know. But like at my age, I used to play with those. And I remembered like they had these 3 levels, like they had the very junior level, and then they had the senior level, and then they would go like become managers or directors. So I don't know, as an entrepreneur, I feel like I've evolved 2 times over, like as a Pokemon. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like I've learned what I would learn in the business life if I stuck to the career path of being in a corporate organization. Perhaps I don't know. I feel like that I would be better in 20 years, in 25 years, or maybe 30 years, because I mean, it's just like skin in the game. You have to make the right decisions to survive, and it's just an incredible, humbling teaching experience for us all. But I know you got to run to the next meeting. It's been a fantastic chat. Thanks for that. And yeah, let's do one more of those in the future sessions. For the people that have tuned in, thank you to all of you. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at Ozzy, OZZIE, at startupsoflondon.com. And we'll talk to you in the next one. Bye-bye.